us this afternoon, Mr. Blackford. So you are a fan of Mr. Corbyn's idea. Why?
Well, no, I'm not quite sure I'd put it that way. I think the point is that we're facing an absolute crisis because as things stand, we're due to leave the European Union, more than likely on a no-deal basis at the end of October. That would be disastrous for all of us, disastrous for jobs. And I'm really asking for parliamentarians across party to unite to stop that madness, to stop the cliff edge coming into view. I actually think the most important thing we should be doing is seizing control of the agenda at Parliament and bringing forward legislation that can stop a no deal. That should be the first priority. But of course, as part of that armoury, we need to have the option of a motion of no confidence, and I'll work constructively with Jeremy and others to make sure that we can stop Boris Johnson doing the damage that I believe that he will do with a no deal. But it's incumbent on all of us, across all parties, including Conservatives, that we work together collectively because it's in all our national interest to do so.
The problem that you have and the problem that the Labour leader has is how do you bring over Conservative MPs and indeed former Labour MPs who will say that it's unpalatable for them, for Jeremy Corbyn to be the next Prime Minister?
Well, that's why I'm saying to you, I think the first priority is bringing forward legislation. And if we go back to the final weeks of Parliament, there was a vote that stopped Boris Johnson closing Parliament down, proroguing Parliament. There was a majority of 41. That is a proxy in some senses for the majority which is there to stop no deal. And what I want to see happen when we go back to Parliament in that first week, for the Scottish National Party, the Labour Party, the other minority parties, and indeed the Conservatives that wish no deal, to unite together in order that we can bring forward a motion, a votable motion that will allow us to seize control of the order paper, to bring forward legislation and to strike out no deal as a default option. That's what we should be doing, and as part of that armoury we've got the option of a no confidence motion. But the timing of this is crucial and the sequencing of it's crucial. But the first thing that we should be doing is working together collectively to stop no deal. And that's certainly, when I meet with Jeremy Corbyn, that is a message that I'll be giving to him. But I'll do that from a position of wanting to work constructively with him.
The timing is crucial. The leader of the Lib Dems has today said that there isn't time for this. In fact, she's called this idea nonsense. So effectively, this whole notion is dead in the water before it even began.
No, I think we've got to recognise that we have got a few short weeks before we crash out. And I would say to everybody, and I would say to Joe with respect, that all of us have got to get round the table. We've got to see what unites us, and we have to accept our responsibilities. Because if we don't unite, if we don't get this right, then people right throughout the United Kingdom are going to be losing their jobs. And let's not forget that the government itself has told us that there's a potential threat to food supplies, there is a threat to the supply of medicines. We have an obligation to do the right thing, to come together, and obviously specifically for people in Scotland, the SNP have got that responsibility of protecting the interests of the people of Scotland, but we will work collectively to make sure that we don't crash out, and all of us have got to be able to get round the table and have got to commit to work together in order that we stop Boris Johnson taking us out. That is the priority.
Is Jo Swinson potentially facilitating a no-deal Brexit if she doesn't support this idea?
Well, look, I've asked for all opposition parties to join with us in talks in Westminster the week after next, and I believe that the Liberal Democrats will be joining us. And I think it's important that we do have that opportunity, that we can work collectively. Actually, the one person that we're waiting to commit to join us is Jeremy Corbyn. Let's recognise the fact that we do not have long. All of us have got to bury the hatchet. We've got to bury our differences. We must work together, or quite frankly, the people of Scotland and the rest of the United Kingdom are going to pay a horrific price, and we have a responsibility to make sure that that does not happen.
So the Lib Dems could be facilitating a no-deal Brexit, yes or no?
Well, I'm not saying that because I want to make sure that we can work together. We need the Liberal Democrats to work with us, and I would appeal to the Liberal Democrats to recognise the national interest that we all have in all these nations in the United Kingdom to stop no deal. And I would appeal to everyone across party to do that. But fundamentally, one of the things that I will not allow to happen is for Scotland to be dragged out of the European Union against its will. And out of this whole process, it's absolutely clear that the people of Scotland have a right to determine their own future through an independence referendum, and that must happen as part of this process as well.
I'm sure you'd agree. I mean, there's not much faith and trust in politicians at the moment, but if this plan does go according to plan, what you're going to have is another Prime Minister who has been crowned without having a general election. How will that go down with the general public?
Well, I'm not focusing on that. What I'm focusing on doing is stopping that harm that will come with a no-deal Brexit. And I have to say to you that, having been around my own constituency over the last few days, people are giving me very clear encouragement that that's what they want to happen. Stop us crashing out, stop the pain that that Brexit departure would have, and make sure that we deliver Scottish independence. That's a very clear message from my electorate, people in Scotland that want to see leadership being given, the leadership that the Scottish National Party have been giving.
Mr Blackford, I'm just looking at what the Labour leader said earlier on regarding another independence referendum up in Scotland. He said it's not the job of Parliament in Westminster to block a second Scottish independence referendum, presuming it's been supported in the Scottish Parliament. I mean, is this a green light from the Labour leader that if there is a Labour government in the future, they will support another independence referendum in Scotland?
I think what Jeremy Corbyn is doing, just as McConnell did last week, is recognising that the Parliament in Edinburgh should have the right to determine when the people of Scotland face that referendum. There is a majority support now for a referendum in Scotland, and of course the SNP won the election to the Scottish Parliament in 2016 on the basis that there will be a referendum if there's a material change in circumstances. That's exactly what has happened, and it should be up for the people of Scotland and their elected parliamentarians to determine that, and no Westminster politician, no government in London should be able to put a roadblock onto that aspiration of the Scottish people having an independence referendum when they make that determination.
OK, Ian Blackford, appreciate your time. Thank you.